You thought you were past this, the late night breakdowns, the silent charts, the feeling of being hunted by a market that doesn't even know your name. You told yourself you'd changed, you journaled, you studied, you swore you'd never chase again. But here you are, staring at another red candle, hand frozen over the mouse, breathing like it hurts. And in that silence, something inside you whispers, maybe the problem isn't the strategy. Maybe the problem is you. No one tells you this at the beginning, that trading will drag your deepest insecurities onto the screen, that every click is a reflection of your past, your fears, your ego, your need to be right. This isn't a game of indicators. This is an identity war. And if you don't win the battle inside, no system will ever save you. This is where it begins, not with entries or exits, but with you. Welcome. Welcome to the real journey of trading. Welcome to the mind behind the method. You sit in front of the screen, charts open, setup loaded. It's quiet, too quiet, no alerts, no notifications, just you and the flicker of candles crawling across your screen. But your body doesn't feel calm, your chest is tight, your hand trembles just slightly, and you don't know why. After all, this is just a trade, right? You check the setup again. Clean. Everything aligns. You've seen this before, you've taken this before, but this time something inside resists, a whisper of fear, a knot in your stomach, a voice that says, what if I'm wrong? You hesitate. You zoom in, check a lower time frame, refresh your news feed again, anything to delay the decision. But what you're really doing is stalling. Because clicking that button doesn't just risk money, it risks something far more fragile. It risks your identity. See, most traders think the chart is the enemy. They think the market is the battle, but it's not. The market is a mirror. It doesn't attack, it reflects. And what it reflects is you. Every trade you hesitate on, every stop loss you move, every setup you skip, those aren't market problems. They're personal ones. Think back to the first time you got punished for being wrong. Was it school, a red mark on a test? Was it a parent who praised you when you won, but stayed silent when you failed? Was it a moment where being wrong made you feel like you were less? That moment lives inside you, still. And now every trade reawakens it. When the setup appears, your conscious mind says, I've backtested this. I trust my edge. But your unconscious mind, it screams, if I lose again, I'm a failure. If I'm wrong again, I'm not good enough. And you act not based on logic, but based on survival. That's why the charts feel so personal. Why a $20 loss stings more than it should. Why a green candle makes you feel alive and a red one makes you question your worth. This isn't about strategy. This is about self-worth, about identity. And most traders, they never realize they're not trading the market. They're trading their need to feel like they matter. You think every trade is about money, but that's the lie. Every trade is really a test of whether you're enough, whether you're capable, whether you belong. And that's the trap, because when a single trade carries that much weight, you will sabotage it. You'll hesitate, you'll chase, you'll override your stop, you'll double down just to prove to yourself that you're right. But here's the thing, the market doesn't care about your need to be right. It doesn't care about your childhood or your scars or your inner narrative. It just reflects, candle by candle, decision by decision. It reveals what's already inside you. And if what's inside is confusion, fear, insecurity, then that's exactly what the market will hand back to you. Let me tell you a story. A trader in a top-tier prop firm had 5 clean wins in a row, small size, all inside plan, confidence rising, then a sudden move on GBP USD during London Open, a setup he didn't fully understand, but he took it anyway. Bigger size, no real plan, just momentum and overconfidence. He said to himself, I've been winning. This one should work too. It didn't. Price reversed violently. He averaged down, moved his stop, tried to manage the trade. By the end of the session, he lost a third of his monthly profit. Not because of the market, not because of the setup, but because he wasn't trading his edge anymore. He was trading to protect his illusion, the illusion that he was a winner. And when one trade becomes your verdict, you give away all your power. You stop thinking like a system. You start thinking like a gambler. You stop trading from process. You start trading from ego. And ego doesn't care about edge, it only cares about story. It whispers, if you lose again, you're a fraud. If you're wrong again, you don't belong here. So you push harder, Force trades, double size, cut winners, hold losers, chase validation, not setups. And the mirror shows it all because trading doesn't reward effort, it rewards alignment. And when who you are conflicts with what you do, the market reveals it every time. So, how do you escape? You don't. You face it. You stop treating trading like a scoreboard and start treating it like a mirror. You ask, what do I believe this trade says about me? Why do I feel panic when I lose? Why do I crave the green candle? And what part of me is still trying to prove I'm good enough? Because that's where the work begins. Uh, Not on the chart, but in the mirror. So sit with that. The next time you hesitate, ask yourself, is this fear about the trade or about my story? Because once you see the difference, you reclaim your power. And the trader who's at peace with their reflection is the one who finally stops losing money. Not because they found the right strategy, but because they finally found themselves. You tell yourself you're a disciplined trader. You have a plan, you have rules, you've even written them down in a journal with black ink and bold underlines. But when the candles start moving, something shifts. The plan disappears, your rules dissolve, and you act. Fast, irrational, emotional. Later, you ask yourself, what the hell just happened? Here's the truth. You weren't trading the market, you were trading a war. The war inside your own mind. See, every trader carries two voices. The first is rational, logical. It says, I trade probabilities, I follow my rules, I manage risk. But there's another voice, louder, older, deeper. And it says, if I lose, I'm a failure. If I'm wrong again, I don't belong here. If this doesn't work, maybe I was never cut out for this. And when those voices collide, discipline dies. It's like having a Zen monk and a scared child sharing the same mind. The monk knows the edge, the child remembers the pain. And when money's on the line, the child always wins. Let me tell you about a trader from London. He was trading EUR-GBP after Brexit, peak volatility. He had backtested for months. His setup was rock solid, but every time price got close to his level, he flinched, closed early, second guessed. When he sat down with a performance coach, the coach asked him a simple question. When you lose a trade, what does it say about you? The man paused. Then his voice cracked. Losing means I'm weak. And for the first time, he realized that belief didn't come from trading, it came from childhood, from a father who punished failure, from a home where only perfection earned approval. That belief was shaping every trade, and he didn't even know it. This is what no one tells you about trading. You're not just bringing a mouse to the screen, you're bringing your history, your wounds, your approval patterns, and your fear of rejection. You think you're afraid of risk? You're not. You're afraid of what being wrong says about you. That's why you move stops. That's why you over leverage after a loss. That's why you skip setups after a losing streak. Not because of the chart, but because of the shame tied to failure. One trader once posted on r/forex about skipping the fourth trade in a strategy he'd tested for 6 months. Why? Because he just lost three in a row. He couldn't take a fourth, not emotionally, even though the fourth setup was valid and would have been a huge winner. He said, I wasn't trading my edge, I was trading to protect my ego. And ego doesn't care about edge, it cares about story. It whispers, if you're wrong again, you'll look stupid. If you lose again, you're not cut out for this. But here's the thing, the market doesn't reward ego. It punishes it, every time, because the market respects only one thing, neutrality. And neutrality only comes when you let go of identity. You are not your last trade. A loss is not a verdict. A win is not validation. They're just data points. That's it. Until you believe that deeply, you will always be at war. So how do you break the cycle? Step one, name it. When you break a rule, pause. Ask, what belief just took control? Was it fear of failure? Need for approval? Scarcity mindset? Shame? Step two, challenge it. Ask, is this belief true in all situations? Where did I learn it? Is it serving me? Step three, replace it. Not with force, with repetition. Affirm it daily. Write it. Say it. Then live it. Trade small. Stick to your plan. Lose gracefully. Prove to yourself that being wrong is safe. Because here's the truth, no one wants to admit. You don't rise to your strategy, you fall to your belief system. So build one that supports your edge, not one that sabotages it. Remember, every time you act from fear, you reinforce fear. But every time you act from alignment, even when it hurts, you build a new self, a stronger self, a calmer self, a self no longer driven by ancient fears or childhood ghosts, but by clarity and truth. because once your beliefs and your method match, execution becomes effortless. Until then, trading will always feel like war. The signal is there. The candle closes strong. Every box on your checklist is ticked. This is the setup, the one you've been waiting for. And yet, you don't click. You hesitate. You recheck RSI, switch to the 5-minute chart, pull up the news feed. You tell yourself just one more confirmation. But that's not the truth. What you're really doing is stalling, because clicking means committing. Committing means risking, and risking means being wrong. So instead, you do what thousands of traders do every day. You overanalyze, you delay, you wait for certainty, but certainty never comes. Because here's the truth. Overanalysis is not discipline. It's disguised fear. It looks like intelligence. It feels like prudence. But underneath, it's paralysis. Let me tell you about a trader at CMC Markets. GBP USD specialist had a clean, rule-based strategy. He prepped his levels every morning, set alerts, wrote down his bias, but when price hit his zone, he froze. Every single time. He'd scroll lower time frames, question the volatility, tell himself to double confirm. But deep down, he didn't trust himself. He trusted the system. He trusted the back test. But he didn't trust the person behind the click. And that hesitation cost him trade after trade, until one day he made a new rule. If the checklist is complete, the trade must be taken. No exceptions. The result? He still had losing trades. But for the first time, he had data. He could measure performance, track patterns, adjust sizing. He wasn't perfect, but he was present. Because execution, even with small losses, builds trust. That's the paradox most traders miss. Overanalysis feels safe, but it kills growth. Execution feels risky, but it builds identity. And trading is about identity. It's not about always being right, it's about becoming the kind of person who acts in alignment, regardless of outcome. So why do we overanalyze? Because we want to escape the discomfort of being wrong. If we delay the click, we delay the risk. If we hesitate, we can't fail. If we keep analyzing, we don't have to feel the shame of a red candle. But that comfort is a lie, because in avoiding pain, you avoid progress. And you build a habit of mistrust, not in the market, but in yourself. So how do you break the loop? First, create a binary checklist. No room for gray. Yes or no. Did the candle close above the 50 EMA? Yes or no. Did volume confirm the breakout? Yes or no. Is risk to reward aligned? Yes or no. Second, commit to this rule. If all boxes are ticked, you take the trade. No debate, no second guessing, no override. Third, track every trade, but not just the result. Track your behavior. Did you follow your plan? Did you hesitate? Did you close early? Because the goal isn't perfect trades. It's aligned action. Clean, fast, consistent. Every time you hesitate, ask yourself, what am I really afraid of? Is it losing money, or is it losing your self-image? Most traders don't fear red candles. They fear what those candles say about them. That's the root. That's the wound. And that's what keeps you stuck. But once you realize a losing trade isn't rejection, it's just information, and your worth was never measured in P&L, then everything changes. You stop stalling, you stop hiding, and you start executing, not because you're certain, but because your system is. That's the mark of a professional. They don't trust emotion. They trust structure. They don't chase confidence. They chase clarity. And when they hesitate, they don't ask for more confirmation. They ask, am I acting from fear or from alignment? And that one question can save you thousands of dollars and years of wasted time. So now, write your checklist. Make it binary. Stick it next to your screen. And for the next 20 trades, follow it. With no hesitation, no editing, no excuses. Because the cost of hesitation is far greater than the cost of being wrong. The red candle drops like a hammer. Your heart skips. You feel it. That tightness in your chest, that subtle panic in your fingertips. You knew where your stop was. You had the plan. But when the moment came, you moved it. Just a few more pips, you told yourself. But you knew the truth. You weren't managing risk. You were avoiding pain. This is where most traders fall apart. Not because they lack a strategy, but because their discipline only exists in theory. On the chart, they're focused. In the heat of the moment, they're emotional. And emotion doesn't trade systems. It trades survival. Here's what they never taught you. Discipline isn't about grit. It's about observation. Most people think discipline means forcing yourself to follow rules. But in trading, that kind of control is a myth. You can't control the market. You can't control outcomes. You can't control volatility. The only thing you can truly control is your attention. Let me tell you about a crypto scalper during the Dogecoin craze in 2021. He made 23% in 1 week. Then Doge dropped 18% in 3 hours. His rule, max loss 5%. But when price started slipping, he froze, moved the stop, then again, then revenge traded Shiba. 2 days later, he was back to break even. Not because the market betrayed him, but because he stopped observing. He fused with his fear. Let the emotion drive. And when that happens, no strategy survives. The pros know this. They don't resist their emotions, they witness them. The urge to chase, they name it. The fear of loss, they sit with it. The impulse to move stops, they feel it and don't act on it. That's true discipline. Not perfection, not resistance, presence. So here's how you begin. Step one, awareness. The next time you feel the urge to click, pause. Just pause. Breathe. Name what you're feeling. Fear, hope, desperation. Don't fix it. Just name it. Because the moment you name it, it loses control over you. Step two, ask the right question. Is this action aligned with my plan, or is it coming from my pain? That one question could save your entire month. Because most trading errors aren't technical, they're emotional reflexes, and reflexes dissolve when observed. Now let's talk structure, because awareness alone isn't enough. You need systems that catch you before you fall. That means a journal that tracks emotional states, not just trades, a checklist for your mindset before every session, rules that eliminate ambiguity, rituals that anchor you during volatility. The less you need to decide during execution, the more freedom you create for your brain to stay neutral. Let me give you an example. A Forex trader using Axie's price action method kept losing money, even though his strategy worked. Why? Discretion. He'd feel like skipping trades after losses. Adjust stops based on news. Enter late if the last trade was a loser. So he did something radical. He turned his strategy into a checklist with binary questions. Is price above the 50 EMA? Did price break structure with volume? Is RSI confirming momentum? Yes or no? No emotion, just criteria. He also fixed his stop loss, locked in position size to find profit targets, and within 1 month, his win rate didn't skyrocket, but his emotional volatility vanished. His confidence grew, and finally, his account started growing too. Because clarity creates conviction, and conviction eliminates sabotage. Same with a crypto trader on Reddit. He automated a grid strategy for ETH. No discretion, no tweaking, no news checking, just a system. He could sleep through trades because the plan handled the chaos and he just followed it. That's what real freedom looks like. Not sitting at your screen, sweating over every candle, but knowing your plan is working even while you're not watching. So how do you build this kind of clarity? Step one, define your edge in detail. Not when it looks strong, but when price closes above resistance with volume. Step two, set exact rules, entry trigger, stop loss, risk per trade, target zone. Step three, write it all down in a checklist, just like a pilot before takeoff. If it doesn't pass the checklist, you don't fly. Step four, commit to 20 trades, no changes, no emotions, just follow through. Because until you trade a clean, consistent sample, you're not trading, you're guessing with structure. And that's not enough. Clarity doesn't make you rigid, it makes you focused. And the more focused your plan, the less power your emotions have. So the next time you feel doubt creep in, don't ask if the market is clear. Ask if you are. Because the market is always uncertain, but you don't have to be. You've been taught to ask, will this trade win? But that question is a trap. It implies you need to know the future. It tempts you to predict, not execute. And that is where your edge dies. The best traders don't ask, will this work? They ask, am I trading my edge? That one shift from outcome to process is the birth of emotional freedom. Not the freedom to win every time, but the freedom to act without fear. Because fear feeds on attachment. And attachment comes from needing this trade to work. But the pros, they trade in series. Let me explain. Imagine you flip a coin that lands heads 55% of the time. You flip it 3 times, 2 tails, 1 head. Did the edge fail? Of course not. You need 50, 100 flips to see the edge. Yet in trading, most people panic after 3 losses. They say, something's wrong, my system's broken, and they abandon the plan right before the edge has a chance to show up. That's not a system problem, that's a probability problem, a mindset problem. Let me tell you about a trader at Forex.com. He was trading USD breakouts, had a strategy with a clear 56% win rate over 100 plus back tests. But live, he couldn't stick to it. Why? Because after 2 or 3 losses, he'd change everything. New indicator, different entry, new pair. He never gave the edge time to breathe until one day he committed to 50 trades. No changes, no emotional edits, just execution. At the end, he was profitable, but more importantly, he was calm because he saw what he'd never seen before. It wasn't the market that was inconsistent, it was him. When you think in series, every single trade becomes smaller. It loses emotional weight. You're no longer trying to be right, you're trying to be aligned. One trader on Twitter put it perfectly. I stopped asking, how much can I make on this trade? And started asking, did I do my job? That changed everything. Because thinking in probabilities doesn't make you robotic, it makes you deliberate. It means you no longer chase wins. You track behavior, you trust the math. Let's go deeper. Here's what most traders don't understand. You can do everything right and still lose. You can follow your edge with precision and still take a loss. That's not failure, that's variance. But if you expect certainty, you'll sabotage your own system. Let me tell you about a trader on Light Finance. He had a 60% win rate strategy on major pairs. He ran it for 30 trades. The first 10, break even. Next 5, slight red. But he stuck with it. The final 15 trades, plus 18% gain. Same rules, same setup, just time. He didn't flinch during the drawdown, didn't tweak, didn't panic. He stayed. And that's what most traders never do. They leave too soon. They abandon the plan right before it was about to work. Why? Because they still think trading is about being right. They want to feel smart, feel in control, feel like they've cracked the code. But probability doesn't care about your feelings. It only responds to repetition. If you can execute your method over and over and over again through randomness, you will win. Not every time, but over time. Because edge reveals itself only to the patient. So how do you start? Commit to a block of 20, 30, or 50 trades. Track them not just by P&L, but by execution quality. Do not adjust the system during the run. At the end, look at the data. Only then can you make real changes. Because without a sample size, your analysis is just noise. You're not trading, you're reacting. So stop trying to be right. Start trying to be consistent. Stop asking if this one trade will win. Start asking, can I take 100 trades where no single one defines me? Because that's the trader who survives. That's the trader who scales. That's the trader the market respects. Remember this, the market rewards math, not emotion. So let the math work. You don't need certainty. You need volume, you need time, you need the courage to stay. And when you do, losses become data and trading becomes peaceful. Not because it's easy, but because it's no longer personal. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a breath. You've come a long way already. You've unmasked the emotional patterns behind every trade. You've seen how fear hides behind overanalysis. You've started to think in probabilities. But knowing all that isn't enough because real transformation doesn't happen in your head. It happens in your hands, in what you do, in the way you act when money's on the line. Not once, but repeatedly. That's where the 20 trade transformation begins. Let me be clear. This is not a hack, not a trick. It's not sexy. It won't give you dopamine, but it will rewire the way you trade forever if you let it. Here's the premise. Choose one setup, one clear rule-based edge. Write the rules in binary form, yes or no. No interpretation, no gut feeling. Then commit to this. You will take the next 20 trades that fit the rules, exactly as planned. No skipping, no tweaking, no judging. Sound easy? It's not. Because this challenge isn't about the trades, it's about your behavior under pressure. Let me share a story. A trader on Medium ran this exercise with a trend continuation strategy on USD CAD. He had backtested it, knew the stats, 52% win rate. But live, he kept interfering, cutting winners, holding losers, skipping trades after losses. So he made a decision. He wrote the rules on paper, set alarms, got an accountability partner, and began. The first 5 trades, brutal. 2 losses, 1 break even, 2 small wins. He wanted to quit, but he didn't. He stayed. By trade 12, his execution was faster. By trade 15, he stopped flinching. By trade 20, he was up 4%. But more importantly, he was calm. He wasn't chasing. He wasn't reacting. He was trading his system like a professional. That's the real win. Because most traders never get to trade 20 setups clean, they break the chain by trade 3. Let fear hijack trade 7. Double size on trade 10, And by trade 15, they're not trading anymore, they're improvising. Let me give you another example from crypto this time. A trader on IG markets applied this during a wild week on BTC USDT. Setup, breakout from consolidation, volume spike, confirmation on 15-minute chart. Entry, stop, and take profit were all defined. No subjectivity. First four trades, all losers. Normal losses, but they hurt. The market chopped sideways. He wanted to skip trade 5, but he stayed. By trade 7, momentum returned, 3 quick winners, then another pullback. Then trade 12 hit 2R. Trade 15 ran overnight and hit target while he slept. By trade 20, the result was modest, but the emotional toll was gone. No burnout, no revenge trades, no doubt, just clarity, just rhythm. Because the real power of this exercise isn't the outcome, it's the identity shift from reactive trader to process-driven operator. Here's the hidden magic. Even if your edge isn't amazing, this exercise will show you exactly what's real. If your system works, you'll see it. If it doesn't, you'll see that too. But either way, you get truth, not opinions, not hope, data. And once you have data, you can evolve, but not until then. So here's your structure. Pick one setup, only one. Don't mix strategies. Write binary rules. No sometimes, only yes, no. Set fixed parameters, entry, stop, size, target. Journal every trade, but not just price. Log your emotional state, fear, confidence, urge to interfere. No changes, no matter what happens in trade, 1 or 10 or 19. You finish the 20. Then, and only then, you evaluate. Let me say this again. Never judge the process midway. Not at trade 3, not at trade 13, not even at trade 19, only after 20, because transformation doesn't live in perfection, it lives in completion. And that's why this challenge is so powerful. It doesn't just measure your edge, it measures you, your ability to stay neutral, to act from structure, to detach from emotion without suppressing it, to trust yourself without needing to be right. That's the real training, not the charts, not the entry timing, but the internal process, the nervous system reconditioning. You want to be a professional trader? This is your gym. This is your daily rep. 20 trades, one system, no emotion, no edits, just alignment. And when you finish, you won't just have results, you'll have something rarer. A version of you that knows how to show up, calm, consistent, unshakable. Most traders begin their journey with one goal, profit. It's obvious, that green number on the screen, the dopamine rush from a winning trade, the dream of freedom, status, or proving someone wrong. At first, every decision is measured by one question. Did I make money? And when the answer is yes, you feel powerful. When it's no, you feel broken. But the traders who last, they change the question. They ask, did I execute well? Was I aligned with my system? Did I do my job? That shift from chasing profit to chasing process is where the real transformation begins. Let me tell you a story. A trader I met at a live event once told me he kept a photo of his daughter next to his screen, not for motivation to make money, but to remind himself she needs a father who keeps his word, not one who wins every trade. That hit me hard, because that's the moment when trading stops being about numbers and starts becoming about who you are becoming. There was another trader at CMC Markets who shared his journey in a public diary. In his early days, he was obsessed with daily profit targets. He'd win a trade and immediately go back in, just one more. He'd lose and chase it. Push harder, get revenge. Either way, he was trapped in the outcome loop. Then one week, he followed his plan exactly. Took 3 clean losses in a row. He broke, doubled risk, lost again. That one day wiped out a month of progress. And that's when he realized it wasn't his system that was unstable, it was him. So he made a radical change. He stopped tracking P&L entirely. Instead, he built a 3-point system to score each trade. 1 point for rule-based entry, 1 point for rule-based exit, 1 point for managing risk. If he scored 3 points, it was a perfect trade, even if it lost. Within 3 weeks, his stress plummeted, his confidence grew, and ironically, so did his profitability, because he shifted his focus from control to consistency. A swing trader on Axie did something similar. She journaled every trade, but instead of asking what went wrong, she asked, what did I do well, regardless of result? That question rewired her brain. She stayed longer in winners, cut losses faster, not because her strategy changed, but because her relationship to the process changed. That's what professionals understand. They're not addicted to profit. They're addicted to refinement. They show up like athletes. They train like musicians. They review like scientists. Because for them, trading isn't a test, it's a craft. And when profit comes, they don't celebrate like gamblers. They simply log it and move on. Let me ask you something. Are you trading to prove something or to grow into someone? Are you measuring the quality of your decisions or just the size of your outcome? Are you focused on being right or on doing what's right? Because your answer determines everything. One mindset is short-lived, the other is sustainable. One creates pressure, the other creates power. The market will always reward the second. So how do you begin this shift? Step one, reframe the goal. Replace "I want to win today" with "I want to execute with precision today." Step two, track what matters: your execution, your adherence to the plan, your emotional state before and after each trade. Step three, celebrate the process. Did you take a clean loss and stay calm? Did you skip a trade that didn't align? That's success. Step four, let results lag. Focus on input. Let the output take care of itself, because when your inputs are clean, your long-term results always follow. And most of all, step five, fall in love with the boring. Reviewing journals, following structure, taking small losses, staying flat when nothing sets up. These are the things no one wants to talk about, but they are the foundation of every consistent trader you admire. You want to trade for a decade, you want to scale without stress, you want to feel peace in the middle of chaos, then build your process. Honor it, refine it, fall in love with it, because when you do, the outcome loses its power over you. And that is when you're free. At this point in your journey, you've looked in the mirror, you've faced your emotions, you've learned to trust process over prediction. But theory isn't enough. You need to see what this really looks like in the chaos of the real market, in the lives of traders who've walked through fire. Because transformation isn't a concept, it's an experience. And the traders who've survived this game the longest, they all have scars. Let me tell you about one of them. He was profiled on Investopedia, a breakout trader on USD pairs, 2 years into trading, solid strategy, consistent progress. Then came a non-farm payroll release. He sized up, way up. He said to himself, this is the one. Big volatility, big opportunity. But what came next was a price whipsaw he never saw coming. He froze, didn't exit, didn't adjust, just watched. By the time the dust settled, he was down 30% on his account. It wasn't the strategy that failed. It was his mindset. His emotions overpowered his edge. So what did he do? He didn't chase, didn't revenge trade. He took a month off, studied every single trade, reviewed every mistake, not on the chart, but in himself. He came back smaller, cleaner, focused, same system. But this time, he committed to a 20-trade plan, no deviation. 2 quarters later, he was profitable again, not because he found a better edge, but because he became a better executor. Another story, this one from Light Finance. A URUSD trader using the Bali scalping strategy. His results were always inconsistent. Break even, then green, then red, up, down, sideways. So he made one change. He created a rule, no analysis after entry. Once he entered, he didn't touch it. No moving stops, no partial exits, no last-minute gut checks. He said, I realized I wasn't losing because of the system. I was losing because I kept interrupting the edge. That single change, letting the trade breathe, added 20% to his annual return. Now let's talk crypto. During the Luna collapse, one trader lost $190,000. He entered near the top, kept averaging down, told himself it can't go to zero, but it did. And when it did, he didn't just lose money, he lost trust in himself. He told me, I could recover the money. But the voice saying I was an idiot, that took a year to silence. What changed him wasn't a new system, it was letting go of the need to be right. He rewrote his plan, traded only one BTC breakout setup, 1-hour chart, fixed risk, no more than 2 trades per day, no news, no social media. He didn't blow up again. He rebuilt, slowly, quietly, and this time he didn't measure success by money. He measured it by alignment. There's another trader. This one hedged BTC with CFDs during high volatility. She noticed her biggest losses came from directional bias, trying to guess the top or the bottom. So she flipped the game. She built a hedging system, neutralized risk first, then re-entered once momentum confirmed. Her win rate didn't explode. But over the next 90 days, she posted a 30% return, not by being smarter, by being structural, by removing ego from the equation. These stories have one thing in common. The pivot wasn't strategic, it was psychological. They didn't get lucky, they got real. They stopped chasing, stopped tweaking, stopped pretending they could outsmart the market, and instead, they surrendered to structure. So let me ask you something. Are you still looking for the perfect entry? Are you still trying to time the market with your emotions? Or are you willing to become someone who follows a process no matter what? Because the market doesn't reward drama, it rewards data. And the quiet, consistent trader managing risk will always outlast the one chasing fireworks. You want a breakthrough? It starts in the boring, the journaling, the post trade reviews, the process audits. Every trader in these stories had one tool in common: a journal. They didn't just log P&L, they tracked emotional triggers, rated their discipline, wrote about the voice in their head, the one that whispers, "You're not good enough," or "One more trade will fix it." And slowly they reprogrammed. Not with books, not with indicators, with awareness. You can do the same. You don't need to wait for a 30% drawdown. You don't need to lose your voice of trust. You can start now. Now, pull your last 10 trades, score them, not by profit, but by execution. Where did you deviate? Where did you hesitate? Where did emotion sneak in? That's where your work begins, not in the chart, but in the mirror. There is no finish line in trading, no ultimate level, no moment where you've made it and the market bows in respect. The best traders in the world, they don't trade because they've arrived. They trade because they've evolved. That's the truth most traders miss. They treat trading like a destination. They chase the six-figure month, the perfect win rate, the holy grail system. But this game is infinite. And the ones who survive it don't just build strategy, they build adaptability. Let me show you what that looks like. There was a senior trader at CMC Markets, RSI specialist, but not in the way you'd think. He didn't use RSI for overbought, oversold. He used it as part of a series-based risk model. He'd only increase size if RSI aligned with his edge across multiple trades, not one, not two, but a sequence. Why? Because he understood. No single trade matters, only patterns do. Over 6 months, his returns didn't just increase. They stabilized. His emotional volatility flattened because he scaled based on data, not impulse. Let's go deeper into crypto. One ETH trader merged smart money concepts with probability-based execution. He didn't chase liquidity. He waited for displacement zones, waited for VWAP confirmation. Then he entered with a clear stop and measured size. That system wasn't born overnight. It was the evolution of dozens of failed impulse trades. And instead of scrapping everything, he layered precision onto experience. That's how real traders grow. They don't chase more indicators. They chase deeper refinement. They don't throw out systems when they lose. They journal, they review, they adapt. Think of it like this. At the beginning, your strategy is like a block of marble. Rough, heavy, full of noise. But each trade, each journal entry, each disciplined action, it carves, it shapes, until one day your process is yours. Not a copy, not a guru's PDF, not something you saw on Twitter. Yours. But that only happens when you stop restarting. Stop system hopping, stop chasing novelty, and start chasing clarity. One trader I coached used to tweak everything after 3 losses. He called it adapting. But it wasn't adapting. It was panicking. I told him, "You haven't even given your system a chance to breathe." So he committed to one rule: no changes until 50 clean trades. By trade 50, he didn't want to change the system anymore because he finally had enough data to trust it. And trust is everything in this game. You don't build confidence by guessing. You build it by tracking, by showing up, by reviewing your wins and losses without flinching. That's how your strategy becomes an extension of who you are, not something you follow, something you embody. Let me give you a different angle. A pilot doesn't argue with their instruments mid-flight. They trust the dashboard, they trust the checklist, they trust the hours of training they've already done. That's what your trading system should be, your dashboard, your structure. So when the storm hits, you don't panic, you fly the system. But you can only do that if you've trained it enough to trust it. Which brings us to this. Mastery is not about knowing more. It's about knowing what to ignore. Over time, your evolution as a trader is defined not by how many tools you collect, but by how much noise you remove. The cleaner your system, the calmer your mind. The calmer your mind, the more consistently your edge can shine. This is what the infinite game teaches you. You don't need to know what happens next. You need to know how you respond when you don't. And the best response? It's not prediction, it's preparation. Every day you journal, every trade you track, every loss you study. You're evolving slowly, silently, relentlessly. So that's what separates the ones who last from the ones who flame out after a hot streak. They don't flinch, they don't brag, they don't spiral, they refine, they realign, they stay grounded in structure, in purpose, in process. That's the infinite mindset. You're not here to prove anything. You're here to grow into someone who can weather anything because the market will change. Your edge may shift, but if your identity is anchored in discipline, you won't break. If you've made it here, something in you has already shifted because this wasn't just a video, it wasn't just content, it was a mirror. And you stayed with it through the discomfort, through the honesty, through every chapter that peeled back another layer of who you thought you were as a trader. And now it's time to decide who you're going to become. Let's get one thing clear. You're not here to be a perfect trader. You're here to be a consistent one who executes the plan even when it hurts, one who respects process even when the results don't show, one who shows up especially when it would be easier to walk away. Because the trader you were, the one driven by validation, revenge, escape, that version got you here. But it won't take you further. You need a new identity, and that identity begins with behavior. So let's build it right now. Take one system, not 5, not 3, just one. Strip it down to its core rules. Turn them into a checklist with no gray zones. Print it, tape it to your wall, see it every day, then commit to 20 trades. No skipping, no editing, no emotional overrides. And when it gets hard, because it will, you return to this. The win is not in the green candle. The win is in the alignment. Journal each trade, not just the entry and exit. Journal your behavior, your hesitation, your urges, your discipline, because that's where the edge lives, not just in the chart, but in you. You want to scale? Good. But first, scale your consistency. You want peace? Then build the habit of neutrality. You want freedom? Then earn it through process. Because freedom isn't just money. It's showing up to the screen without fear, without ego, without the need to prove yourself. It's knowing that no matter what the candle does, you'll respond, not react. You'll execute, not chase. You'll trust, not flinch. And that kind of freedom, it's rare, but it's available to the trader willing to stop chasing the outcome and start becoming the process. So here's your challenge. Comment this right now. I used to trade for Gore and Ngor. Now I trade for Gur and Ngor. Be honest, be specific, be real. Here's an example. I used to trade for validation, revenge, and escape. Now I trade for process, growth, and freedom. Then ask yourself, what's the one pattern this journey revealed in me? What urge kept showing up? What emotion did I see most clearly? Now write it down, say it aloud, make it conscious, because when you make it conscious, you can change it. And when you change it, you're no longer just learning, you're becoming. This isn't about being fearless, it's about being grounded, it's about being present, it's about being unshakable. That's the identity you build now. Not through hype, not through luck, but through daily action. So if this message found you in a quiet moment, headphones in the dark, maybe with the charts still open on your second monitor, then know this. There is a version of you that already knows how to do this. The steady version, the focused version, the version that no longer flinches at loss or dances with greed. That version isn't far away. It's one trade away, one decision away, one act of alignment away. So ask yourself, when the market opens tomorrow, who will show up? The one who chases or the one who flows? You already know the answer because you're not the same trader who started this. You've changed. Now live like it. This is the way. This is psychology of profit.